guys, so my name's Robyn Nichol and today I'm going to be showing you how to make the embroidery hoop that you've received in your activity pack. So I'll be showing you how to make this one, cornflake tart with custard, and I'm just going to show you two dead simple stitches that are easy for beginners really. So that's back stitch and satin stitch, so I'll show you them in two stages. I've used satin stitch for this hoop. So normally within my practice I'll make hoops that are either like this, which is logos or brands in relation to Northern identity and Yorkshire's historical textile industry as well. Or I'll make wall hangings that look like this that are digitally printed, usually on cotton drill, and then I'll hand hem them. So I'll just get started showing you satin stitch now, and also how to use the DMC threads in the terms of cutting them up and stuff like that. So with the thread that you've received, what you'd need to do is you just need to slide these two pieces of plastic off, and then it'll come in loops, just the DMC stranded cotton. So what you need to do is just find the end of the thread, so mine's here, and it's basically 6 really thin pieces of cotton. So usually, I'll just get the one that I've been using for this piece of work. So usually I will take about that much, so it's about 30cm ruler size worth of thread, and then just snip that off. Put it over there for now. And then what you need to do is, might not pick it up on the camera because it's so small, but you just need to pull one individual piece of cotton out, just hold the other pieces, and then just slowly unravel it. And then it's just this little piece of thread that you'd need to hook through the needle. So just for the purposes of this video, so that you can see it clearly, I've just thread my needle with black thread instead. So I'm just going to show you back stitch first. This is probably the more simple stitch out of the two of them. It's up to you which one you use for your piece. You can go basically back stitch. The idea is that you go back on yourself. I'll show you how to do it in a minute. But so you just sort of trace over, you're just following the lines that you've drawn out from the design just in a straight line, whereas with satin stitch, like I'll show you later on, you just fill the letter completely, so it's completely up to you which one you go for, just personal preference. So what you need to do with back stitch is basically, the idea is that you push the needle, let me just find where the line is, the idea is that you push the needle up through the fabric like this, and then just pull it tight so that the knot at the back of the thread, I usually double knot it, is tight to the fabric. I'm going to do bigger stitches than I normally would do, just so that it's easy for you to see. So usually you go down like this, and again pull the thread through, and then the idea is that you go back on yourself, hence back stitch being the name of it. So you come back up through the fabric like this. It is going to look a tiny bit messy just because I've used bigger stitches to make it clearer. And then you would go back down through the whole of the previous stitch like this. Like that. And then again. And then back through. And the idea is that you would do that then to fill all of the outline of the letters. So you do that inner part of the O, and then the outer bit, and then the outer bit as well. So satin stitch is a tiny bit more complicated. So I've just got the yellow thread. It's better that you start on the bigger sections and then do the darker pink sections after you've done the yellow. So basically what you do is, I'm just going to start in the middle. You just need to, in the same way as the back stitch, just push your needle up and through. Then I usually work horizontal rather than vertical, just because the thread seems to sit nicer that way, for me, with what I do anyway, with the work that I make. So in the same way as back stitch, you're just going to push your needle back down. It can be a little bit fiddly to stay within the line, so I just want to emphasise that your hoops don't have to be perfect. That whatever level you want them to be is absolutely fine. You know, they're not meant to be absolutely perfect. It took me 6 years to be able to sort of like get my skills where I want them. So in a different way to back stitch, when you're doing satin stitch, you don't need to push your needle back through to line up with the previous stitch, the last hole of that stitch. You can just do wherever you like. So I'm just going to do a cross in another line. This is usually how I work. So like that, so you've just done 2 little lines of stitches, and then I'll usually do larger sections and then just fill them in from there. So again, it's not overly complicated, you're just then pushing it back down like this, and then come from the other side through like that. And the idea is that you fill the whole letter with satin stitch, doing it like this. So what I'll do is I'll just carry on making this first layer up, and then I'll come back and show you the second layer of thread. And then when I get to this point where I'm building up the stitches, usually I cover all of the calico fabric with the stitches so that none of it's showing through. So it's just about building up. That one. Just about building up your stitches until there's no fabric showing through, and then you can either leave it as it is and move on to the pink, or you can do a second layer, which I'll show you how to do. Okay, so when you're at this point where all of the fabric has been covered by the thread, the first layer, you can either leave it at this point, I think it looks just as nice, or you can do a second layer like I do with all of my pieces, just because I like there to be a little bit more texture in my work and for the design to stand out. So if you wanted to do a second layer, what you'd need to do is basically go over the stitches that you've already done, each individual one. So this bit is a bit more fiddly and time consuming, but it kind of makes them stand out more from the fabric. So you just need to, so I'm starting at the top and working my way down, so you just need to push up through the whole of the first stitch and then push down where that stitch then goes back through the fabric. Because I usually am a bit more careful with these ones, just to avoid the thread getting tangled, then you just go over it like that, and then you continue down over the whole letter until you got to the bottom. Okay, so when you've either done 1 layer or 2 layers of satin stitch, what you then need to do is do the outer part of the letter with the pink. So you still use satin stitch for this if that's what you're choosing to do, but rather than going across horizontal, what I usually do is just follow the curve of the letter, just because of how small these stitches are. Going across horizontal wouldn't translate well, it would just look quite bunchy and wouldn't be as detailed. So it's just the same process where you just go through and do your little stitches like this, just do your little stitches like this, and then you just follow the curve of the letter. And again with this you can do either 1 layer or 2 layers, it's completely up to you. So when you finish your hoop, you just need to trim the fabric down off the back so that it's as close to the hoop, the back of the hoop as possible, so it looks something like that. I just use tiny nail scissors for this, but you can use any form of scissors that you like. Some people also stick the fabric underneath like this, but I just find that using the scissors means it sits as close to the wall as possible for being displayed. Okay, so that's the finished hoop. If anyone's got any questions about anything to do with the process of making this, you can message me on Instagram. It's just at Robyn Nichol, and I'm happy to answer any questions or help with anybody. I really hope that you enjoy doing this activity, and like I said, if you've got any questions about anything to do with embroidery or textiles or my practice or anything like that, just message me on Instagram. It's at Robyn Nichol.